Family, let me ask you something from the heart. What does it mean when a black woman can't even come home, park her car, step out with her keys in hand, and feel safe in her own driveway? What does it mean when the place that should be her sanctuary, her rest from the world, becomes another stage for confrontation, entitlement, and disrespect? That is the question sitting heavy on my spirit tonight. Because this isn't just about one moment, one woman, or one angry neighbor. It's about a pattern, a history, and a truth we know all too well. Picture this scene with me. A black woman driving home through a leafy suburb lined with trees and manicured lawns, maybe humming to herself, maybe already planning what she's going to cook, maybe just breathing out the day and thinking about sinking into her couch. She pulls into her driveway, maybe feeling grateful for the life she's built, for the home she's earned, for the peace she deserves. But before she can even put her car in park, she notices something behind her, an SUV following, close enough to feel like a shadow. And then it happens. That SUV pulls up, blocks her driveway, and out steps an older white woman, angry, entitled, already wound up, ready for battle. Now, the reason for all this chaos? According to this neighbor, the black woman didn't yield on the road. A simple traffic disagreement, something most of us forget about before we even get to the next red light. But this woman held onto it like a grudge, like a personal insult carved into her pride, and instead of letting it go, she decided to follow her neighbor home, march into her driveway, and confront her on her own property. That is not just road rage, that is not just a misunderstanding, that is trespass, intimidation, and the audacity of entitlement wrapped together. So the homeowner, clearly shocked and frustrated, told her plain, "Girl, get out of my driveway, get the on. What is wrong with you? What are you doing?" Now I don't blame her for being mad. You just came home from a long day, and instead of peace, you're face to face with somebody trying to play sheriff on your doorstep. And what did the trespasser say? You opened your potty mouth first, dear. Dear. The same word that drips with fake sweetness while it carries poison underneath. That's how entitlement talks. Soft on the surface, sharp underneath, always pretending to be innocent while stirring the pot. And here's where it gets deeper. Because this wasn't just two neighbors arguing. This was the performance of something we've all seen before, the Karen Act. That posture of superiority that says, I have the right to confront you, I have the right to police you, I have the right to stand on your property and dare you to challenge me. It's the same playbook over and over, a performance built on the idea that black people must yield. Yield in traffic, yield in conversation, yield in life, yield even in the space we pay mortgages and rent to call our own. Now let's pause here. Because I want us to feel the weight of what this moment really means. Home has always been sacred ground for us, for black women especially. Home is the one place where we can exhale, where we can take off the mask, loosen the shoulders, be vulnerable, and safe. But history has shown us that even home doesn't always protect us. From slavery days when women couldn't even protect their bodies inside their own quarters. With love and truth. Microaggressions add up. They stack on our spirit like weights we never asked to carry. A comment at work, a stare in the store, a neighbor's entitled demand. One brick after another until it feels like you're carrying a house on your back. And when somebody follows you home and blocks your driveway, that's not just a brick. That's a boulder thrown straight at your peace. Because the message is clear. Your existence inconvenienced me. Your presence disturbed me. And I have the right to follow you, confront you, and even threaten to call the police on you while I'm the one breaking the law. That is how entitlement disguises itself. Now let's get real about that police threat. What exactly was she going to say to the cops? Hello, officer, I trespassed, blocked a driveway, and now I want you to come save me from the homeowner I provoked. The math doesn't add up, but that's the twisted privilege of it all. The belief that police are her personal customer service line, available on demand to enforce her comfort. We've seen this story too many times, And we know how it can end when police are called on Black people for simply existing. So in that moment, the Black homeowner had to make a choice. She could escalate and risk turning her driveway into a crime scene, or she could de-escalate, swallow her rightful anger, and take the high road yet again. And what did she do? She said, "I'm not going to call the police. You're out of my yard. I'm just wondering why you're still standing here." That's grace, that's strength, that's survival. Because she knew the rules of the game, even though it's unfair that she had to play them. Black women are always expected to carry this impossible balance, strong enough to stand firm, but soft enough to not make anybody uncomfortable, bold enough to protect ourselves, but careful enough not to be labeled angry. It's exhausting, it's unfair, but it's real. And yet, even in that moment of trespass, she protected her peace by refusing to let the situation explode. Let's step back even further, because this isn't just about one neighbor. This is about a society that has always policed Black life. Think about it. On plantations, there were overseers whose job was to watch every move. During Jim Crow, there were signs and laws dictating where we could stand, sit, drink, or live. And today, there are everyday Karens who act like overseers in yoga pants and SUVs, patrolling public parks, grocery stores, and yes, even other people's driveways. The form changes, but the spirit remains the same, controlling Black presence, policing Black dignity, challenging Black belonging. And I know somebody out there might say, but this was just an argument. It wasn't about race. Let's not be naive, because history tells us differently. When white entitlement collides with Black existence, the shadow of race is always there. If that homeowner had been a white woman, do we think the neighbor would have followed her all the way home, blocked her driveway, and trespassed on her property? Would she have stood there calling her dear and threatening to call the police? I think we know the answer. So what do we learn from this moment? We learn that for Black women, grace is not a choice, it's survival. We learn that peace is not guaranteed, even in our own homes. We learn that entitlement can dress itself up as righteousness, but underneath it's the same old thing, control. And we learn that resilience, the ability to de-escalate, to stand firm without exploding, that resilience is both our shield and our burden. But I also want to talk about what this means for community, because no woman should have to face this kind of trespass alone. Our homes, our neighborhoods, our streets, they should be places of collective protection. We need to keep lifting each other up, looking out for one another, reminding each other that our belonging is not up for debate. We are not guests in this country, in these suburbs, in these driveways. We are the backbone, the builders, the dreamers, the survivors, and no neighbor, no Karen, no trespasser can erase that truth. There's also something beautiful in the way this homeowner handled herself. Yes, she was mad. Yes, she cursed. She had every right. But she also refused to let the police narrative play out. She didn't give her neighbor the satisfaction of escalation. That was wisdom, because Black women carry an ancient wisdom about survival, about knowing when to stand tall and when to step aside, about knowing that sometimes protecting your life means sacrificing the momentary satisfaction of seeing someone pay for their foolishness. And that's a burden nobody should have to carry, but it's one we've carried for generations. And I want to speak directly to my sisters here. You deserve safety. You deserve peace. You deserve to pull into your driveway and feel the weight lift off your shoulders, not press harder on your chest. You deserve to be angry without being criminalized. You deserve to be vulnerable without being violated, and every time you take the high road, I see the toll it takes, but I also see the power it holds. You are not weak for choosing peace. You are not small for walking away. You are strategic. You are wise. You are keeping yourself alive, and that is no small thing in a world that too often looks for excuses to take us out. Family, this story is one moment, one video, but it represents so many untold moments happening every day across this country. The woman in her driveway is every Black woman who's been side-eyed in a store, followed in a mall, questioned at her job, disrespected in her neighborhood. She is every sister who has swallowed rage in order to survive, and she is also every example of why we continue to fight for justice, for dignity, for the right to rest in the safety of our own homes. So tonight, I want you to hold this story close. Not to carry the anger, but to recognize the truth, to see how small moments reveal big patterns, to understand that racism doesn't always wear a hood or wave a flag. Sometimes it just drives an SUV, parks in your driveway, and calls you dear while daring you to defend yourself. And I want you to know this: your peace is sacred, your dignity is non-negotiable, and your resilience, while tested, is unbreakable. Because at the end of the day, that homeowner didn't let her driveway become a battleground. She claimed her space with her words, with her presence, with her decision not to escalate. And that, family, is the quiet revolution. The everyday act of saying, I belong here. You will not shake me. You will not steal my peace. So, the next time you hear about a moment like this, remember the deeper truth it represents. Remember the history that lives beneath it. Remember the resilience it demands. And remember that no matter how many times the world tries to trespass on our peace, we carry within us the power to reclaim it, always.